Hello and welcome back to the channel everybody. In this video I am finally going to do my review of the Cammus C12 after having it for about 1.5 months now. I was planning on doing it a little bit sooner, but I just wanted a little bit more time with it before I did this. So let's jump into it. So here we have the Cammus C12. Cammus sent me this, which is a 300mm wheel, which is something I've actually been asking Cammus for a little while now. I personally like 300mm wheels compared to some of the other ones like 320, 350, 280 like the C5. They have also taken a lot of feedback from you guys as well. A lot of people wanted a round wheel, and they've given us a round wheel. I personally actually prefer D-shaped wheels, but the round wheels are a bit more all-round, whether you're drifting, rallying, road racing, all that stuff. You can pretty much use this wheel. So I get why they did that. In saying that, you can just unbolt this and then put on your own wheel if you wanted to. However, you can put on your own wheel, but if you're trying to put on a Fanatic wheel or some kind of sim racing wheel that doesn't have the cutout in the center, there is a little knob with the way that they've mounted this button plate that won't allow you to do that unless you put a spacer or something on there. But most actual car wheels where it does have the cutout for the horn pads and all that, you can bolt this on, no problems, and then just put the little Cammus metal plate back over there and bolt it straight back on. I assume Cammus are probably going to come out with some different wheels for this. The leather they're using on this wheel feels very good. Button box that they're using for the C12 looks really good quality with the carbon fiber. These buttons are some of the best I've used actually. I really like the feel of these buttons, the look of these buttons. I'll show you the way that you can change all the colors of these buttons, fully customizable. Really like this. It's kind of like a gaming keyboard kind of button. I really like them. You've got your rotary encoders. These rotary encoders up here are similar to the ones on the C5. These ones down here are, I think, an aluminium style rotary encoder. Why they didn't just use those on there, I don't know, but that's not a big deal. So you have 10 of these gaming style buttons here around the sides. These rotary encoders are also buttons. These are also buttons. This one is like a little, you can use it as a mouse if you wanted to. This one is the directional pad, which also is a button. You've got your rotary encoders up here that are, again, also buttons. However, I will say that these buttons I don't really use. I feel like it's a little bit awkward to use while racing, to use those as buttons unless it's something you really don't use very often, like maybe a rain light or something. If you really have all your buttons calibrated to something else and stuff you use more, I guess you could use that. The risk is also trying to hit that button and you change your brake bias or whatever you have this set up to do. You've got your 7-segment kind of display here that has a little diffuser over it, which I really like because I don't like a very bright kind of light distracting me. I have the brightness on this set down all the way to just 1. You've got your rev gauge here. You've got little flag LED kind of lights here. Currently, I'll show you this in the software later, but you can't configure those, but hopefully in the future you can. You can configure all this and change it to different colors and all that. But again, I'll show you that later. Oh, by the way, this is a rotary encoder as well. Just on these kind of rotary encoders, on these blue ones on the side, your thumb encoders, I guess you could say. I do find sometimes if I'm crashing, which never happens, ever. But if I do, I might knock those rotary encoders. So I do sometimes have to adjust that after like crashing or something. I do hit those sometimes. Moving on to the back, you'll see that this is now a little bit larger than what the C5 was. Comes out a bit more. You've got a heatsink on the back here because it does have more than double the power of the C5. 12 Newton meters compared to 5 Newton meters, and that's 12 Newton meters constant. It actually peaks higher than 12, and I can definitely feel that, because to be honest, even compared to my 15 Newton meter Cammus DDWB, this kind of feels a little bit stronger. So super happy with the power on this, and especially in such a small form factor, I really like it. Now on the back you do have a USB-C up here. What that can be used for, I don't know at this stage. Potentially something in the future. Currently nothing as far as I'm aware. You do have your magnetic paddle shifters, which is probably the best magnetic paddle shifters I've used from Cammus. The one small downfall to these is the sound. They are a little loud, but other than that they feel very good. I quite like those. You've got the spot to put your fan, you've got your USB, you've got your power input, you've got your power button, reset button, some USB-Cs down the bottom for your Cammus pedals, handbrake, shifters, all that stuff straight into the back of it. You've got these little mounting prongs, I guess you could say. These will mount straight onto like your Next Level Racing FGT or GT Track or whatever cockpit you have. You can just use screws to screw up into these threaded holes, and there you have it. But to be honest, if you're running a sort of aluminium profile kind of cockpit like I am, and your mounting plate for stuff like this is actually the profile and it's not just a metal plate, then I'd probably recommend getting the desk clamp, and then I drilled holes in the desk clamp and just mounted that into the aluminium profile. That's what I did. Obviously if you don't have a cockpit at all and you're running it on a table, again, get the desk clamp. Desk clamp will also give you some angle adjustment here. So I'd probably recommend getting the desk clamp regardless of whether you're putting it on a desk or putting it onto a aluminium profile cockpit. It also holds the fan that blows onto the heat sink and cools it. It does have vents in there as well, and the fan just blows and helps cool everything. You probably want to use that. So that's about it for the quick overview. Now let's jump onto the sim and we'll have a look at it actually working. Alright, so here we are on the PC now. I'll quickly take you through the software. I showed you in my unboxing video, but I'll show you again in this one if you haven't seen that. This is the main page. You can see what I've got connected here. The parameters, you've got all the base settings, the game effects, and the assistant settings. These particular settings are my iRacing settings for the C12. It's very similar to my ACC settings, these ones, but AMS2, I think that goes down to 7 or 8%. To be honest, I don't really change the settings a lot for this particular wheel between games. It's pretty good. Yeah, these are really the settings that I use. I've just been racing on this about 45 degrees Celsius is round about where this wheel sits in the temperature range when I'm using it. I've been driving on this the last about an hour just before I hit record, and yeah, that's pretty much what it sits at. I did have another video that I run this at 100% force feedback. You'll see it fluctuates around the 70 degrees mark if you're running absolute flat out. Still didn't get to the 80 degrees temperature threshold, which is what the default is. I just run it at 85. It doesn't get there anyway in my testing. These are obviously my settings, although I'm not logged in at the moment, so it's not set out correctly. But you can go over to recommended and you can download recommended settings for whatever wheel you're using in the Cammus software. Over here we've got devices. You can click on the LC100 pedals, see that. Click on the C12. You've got all these buttons out too. You can see, make sure all your buttons are working. You can choose to simulate mouse or keyboard arrows with these. New tab is the dashboard. You can change the brightness of the display where it shows all your speed and gear and all that. I personally like this set to 1. I don't like it very bright. You've got all your RPM lights and different presets that you can set them to. You can change all your button lights. So I've got this one set to red. You can change it to whatever you want really. The rotary encoders, we can change between a direction that just each little notch is just effectively one button going up, one button going down. Or if you want the rotary encoders to be set level 1, 2, 3, 4, all that. You could set them to gear if you wanted to. I don't want to. I just like that on the direction. And then you can update all your stuff here. If you want to know what any of these are, it does tell you just by hovering over the little eye icon here. That's about it for the software. It has gotten better over the time I've been using Cammus, and this is, in its current state, is the best the Cammus software ever has been. Testing in some of the main titles I play, like Assetto Corsa Competizione, Automobilista 2 and iRacing, I found the Cammus C12, I didn't have to change the settings too much in between the titles. It's mostly just a tweak of the natural friction slider to get the feedback to how I wanted it to feel. Mostly similar settings to what I use on the Cammus C5. For the most part, in games I was feeling all the feedback I needed to help me drive the car. Keep in mind, feedback is a personal preference, and to me I found the feedback on this wheel to be very good in ACC and AMS2, and some of the best I've experienced in these titles, with just a good combination in between sort of detail and having the power that I personally feel like I need to drive with. A lot of other wheelbases I've had in the past, like the Fanatec CSL-DD, the Cammus C5 and others, while some of them had the detail I wanted, I could never really turn them up to the power level that I felt comfortable with. Otherwise the feedback would be clipping. For example, this Cammus C5, yeah, if I turned it up to 100%, yeah, that would be a pretty good level for me, and I didn't really need any more than that. But then the feedback clips, and then you lose out on some of that detail. So you can't run the Cammus C5 at 100% force feedback in-game and in the Cammus software, otherwise you're losing all that detail. And same with the Fanatec CSL-DD, I had that problem. Whereas with the Cammus C12, I can run it at that power range that I like, and it's still got plenty of headroom to give me all the details of those really harsh curves and all that that I want to feel at a harder, more powerful rate. And a lot of people I find do say with even the CSLDD and the Cammus C5, you don't need any more power than that. And in a way, they're correct. Technically, you don't, but you lose some of the detail if you're trying to run that at 100% force feedback. So with the Cammus C12, yeah, I'm not running it at 100%. Yeah, I'm not using it at that 12 Newton meters kind of constant all the time. And I'm actually turning it down to around that 50% mark, but it's giving me all the detail I need at that point. So I'm not losing the detail, I'm not feedback clipping and all that. So with the Cammus C12, I've found it to be a really good combination of still having all the detail, not clipping, and still running at the power that I feel like I personally like to run my feedback at. So really happy with that side of the wheel so far. Coming from the Cammus 15 Newton meter direct drive base that I've been daily driving for at least a couple of months now, I assumed I would actually be losing some power here. But in my testing, that didn't seem to be the case, actually. In fact, the way I set my power up to be 100% in the Cammus software and then adjusted in the game, I've actually found with Cammus C12, I've actually been moving the power sliders down instead of up, which was unexpected considering I went from a 15 Newton meter base down to a 12 Newton meter base. And I think part of that is the fact that the Cammus C12 is a constant 12 Newton meters and peaks higher as well, as because the direct drive motor is actually attached direct to the steering wheel instead of a separate base and then transmitting power through the shaft and then onto the steering wheel. And I think the C12 is a benefit there, where it's just getting the full power straight to the wheel. It feels a bit higher, and also I don't know if the 15 Newton meter Cammus base is a constant 15. I don't feel like it is, but maybe it's just that whole direct drive motor attached to the wheel thing that's giving me that sensation. I don't know, but in terms of just feeling, throw the spec sheet out, if I had to say which one actually feels more powerful between the 15 Newton meter and this Cammus C12, I'd actually say the C12. And the way I have my power set up in the game actually proves that as well. The Cammus 15 Newton meter, I think I was running at least 10 points or so higher with the 15, but running lower with the 12. So definitely the C12 has all the power that I personally need. Also keep in mind, this wheel is PC only at this point in time. So if you're looking to go put a wheel on your Xbox or your PlayStation, this is not for you. It's just PC. Currently, I don't know the plans for the future, but we'll see. As for iRacing, I was a little bit worried with the C12 because when I was changing over from the Fnatic CSLDD to the Cammus C5, one thing I found the Cammus C5 struggled with a little bit for some reason, and I don't know why that is. Maybe it was the settings I had, I don't know. But with the Cammus C5, it was very good in ACC, very good in AMS2, but when it came to iRacing, it was very grainy for me. And I tried settings a bit, and I got it okay to a spot where I could live with it. But I always felt a graininess with the C5, and I was hoping that that wasn't going to translate into the C12 as well, and luckily it didn't. So in iRacing I'm actually running the same settings pretty much as what I'm running in about AMS2, with a similar kind of friction level. Well, it's actually in between AMS2 and ACC a little bit. And it just feels fine. There's no real graininess to it that I found with the C5. I was feeling all the feedback I needed to feel. And yeah, I've actually been reasonably happy with the C12 in iRacing. And I don't get that graininess that I felt with the C5 in iRacing. So I can safely say with the Cammus C12, it's a really capable base in all the games that I normally play. And in terms of power, feedback, loving all the buttons, the wheel, everything, I can safely say it's a great wheel at this particular price point. Now, as for the price of this, if you don't already know this, it is currently available for pre-order. You can pre-order it for just 49 USD from what Cammus told me. And once the first lot arrives at the warehouse, we'll send the customer an email and they can pay the rest of the $500 USD and shipping fee. They've done this to try and lower the shipping fee significantly, apparently, because some people were complaining about the shipping fees on the C5. Since then also, there's now like the Australian warehouse and American warehouse and a lot of different warehouses around you can buy these from. When they hit those warehouses, I don't know. I have been told that they are getting shipped to some of those other warehouses around the world, and that might help the shipping fees as well. Of course, I'm going to have a link down in the description that you can use to get 5% off, or just put in code STORM to get 5% off at checkout. And obviously that helps the channel as well. So the conclusion on the Cammus C12 for what is a pretty good price, about double what the C5 is, but if I'm being honest, it's probably double the product. Not only is it double the power, more than double the power, you get a better button box, better buttons, better wheel, better shifters. Like, everything about this is better. Even if you're not using it to its full 12 Newton meter potential, you can still get better dynamic range than running the C5 at like 100% force feedback. But yeah, super happy with this. Whether I'm changing from my 15 Newton meter DDWB over to this, I don't know. I haven't made that decision yet. I'm probably going to do a video, Cammus C12 versus the 15 Newton meter DDWB, and I think even that video will help me decide whether I switch back from this to the 15 Newton. I don't know. There's pluses and minuses to both. This is a little bit cheaper than the 15 Newton meter DDWB, a little bit lighter, all that stuff. So really like all the button box and everything. Yeah, thanks for watching this video, everybody. Hit that like button if you liked it, subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you in the next video.